there. This reading is for all you Sun, Moon, and Rising Leos. Connecting with your energy tonight has been a little odd, and it might just be because I'm doing this reading in the evening, so you guys get the benefit of some nice moody lighting. But I'm gonna take it as, you know, a nice little taste of Libra season, since your ruler, the sun, is going to be moving into the sign of Libra tomorrow morning. At least for where I live in the world, I think the sun ingresses Libra about pretty much exactly 10 minutes after the sun rises where I am. So more than likely, by the time you view this reading, it will already be Libra season. So wish your solar Libra friends a happy birthday, or, you know, happy birthday to you if you're a solar Libra and you're watching this with other placements, or for someone else. I'm not getting any like clear images connecting with your energy, Leo. There is something coming through, but it kind of feels like turning the dial on an old radio. Like I can hear the broadcast, but it's muffled. There's interference. So hopefully as we go along in the reading, it'll become a little bit more clear. All right, so our first card is going to be your representative through the reading. Once I pull it out, I'm going to set it right over here by our good friend Henry right here. He's going to watch over you through this reading. So we have the 10 of Pentacles. That is the good old last decan of Virgo, where the sun is currently. But this is a sense of, there's so many different avenues I can take this. Being in a place in your life where you feel like you've accomplished or acquired the things that you need on some level, usually material, since it's the Pentacles, it's, you know, the earth element. But it, kind of this sense of having gathered amongst yourself the things that you could hope to have within your lifetime. Maybe this is an idea or a concept that's very prominent on your mind right now, like you're hoping to manifest this for yourself, or maybe you're actually seated in that energy already. Kind of feeling comfortable within your material environment and feeling very supported and nourished and surrounded by people who kind of contribute to that in some way. But there is a sense of transition with this 10 of coins. I mean, if you think about the last decan of Virgo, it's the last 10 degrees before we enter the sign of Libra. You know, it's the last 10 degrees of the sun's journey above the equatorial plane, you know, north of the equatorial plane. It's the end of the journey that we started back when the sun ingressed into Aries during the spring vernal equinox, March 20th, I think March 20th this year. Sometimes it moves up and down a day or two. But this is kind of like a culminating energy where we're taking stock of the manifestations and the energies that we put into motion at the start of this year. Maybe reflecting on what you've accomplished, what you've yet to accomplish, and maybe taking stock of things that you could have done differently, things that you would adjust or change if you had the opportunity to. But there's kind of the sense of like you're not actively engaged in that process. It's more a sense of sitting back and reflecting on it, kind of like the older gentleman seated right here. It's like the activity's already kind of taking care of itself over here in the background, but he's just kind of reflecting on what he's already done, if that makes sense. So for the energy around you, we have another 10. We have the 10 of Swords. you know, immediately it's like backstabbing, but I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. There's more a sense of there being circumstances that have maybe taken more of your energy than you had intended. Could be that these are circumstances that, if we're reflecting on things that we've done that we could have potentially done differently, it's like maybe there were ways that you could have been more efficient in terms of expending your energy, in terms of using your time well. Like, I'm seeing there's a lot of gaps that could have been filled with utility. But it's like at this point, your energy's already sort of collapsed in on itself. The time for deliberate action doesn't feel like it's really right now. Like you're entering a pivotal moment, a transition moment, and it's very almost poetic with the fact that these sorts of cards are coming up right now as we're about to ingress into Libra, into the dark half of the year, when the sun begins its journey through the underworld, essentially through the netherland, the southern hemisphere, down to the low point in Capricorn. Like for us in the northern hemisphere, that's the beginning of our winter, our fall. Like our days are getting continually shorter from this point on, really since the summer solstice, but now it's going to be very noticeable because we're passing the equinoctial point where the day and the night are balanced. So it's like with the tens, it's like the culmination point, the pinnacle of a situation before diving into the next manifestation. So let's keep seeing how this is going to play out. We have the Five of Coins, and this is representing somewhat of a challenging energy that's presenting itself to you, where your energy might be a little deflated with this Ten of Swords energy here. When this Five of Pentacles situation, this energy of, I don't want to say poverty, but poverty mindset, I think maybe more appropriate. This kind of sense of feeling like life is antagonizing you and limiting and obstructing opportunities in some way. Like there's a lot of struggle, a lot of uphill strife. And it's like maybe outwardly things seem to be going well with this Ten of Coins over here, but on the inside there's an element of defeat, like feeling defeated, feeling exhausted. Like this could also even just be like the energy, like an illustration of the energy that a runner would have at the end of a marathon. Like you've completed the race and now your whole body hurts and you just want to sleep. You want to chug 10 gallons of water and eat a dozen pancakes and just sleep for 3 weeks. Like that kind of feeling of being at the end of total exertion. I could even see it as like hospital time, like a hospital stay. Like things were going super well, and then all of a sudden there's this curveball of, well, now your body's shutting down, and by the way, you're going to be limping for the next 3 months. That sort of a curveball type energy. So for your past energy, we have this Three of Coins. That's the middle decan of Capricorn. This is our work being seen and evaluated and appreciated, valued. It's like a period in time of your work, your time management, your energy expenditures, your money expenditures even being reviewed, maybe even being audited. Especially in connection with these other cards. I'm like, it's not the most positive sort of environment that's immediately around you right now, Leo. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was like the IRS auditing you, or like some sort of appropriately relative tax agency. Like, I don't know what other agencies there are in other countries, but I know everyone has somewhat of an equivalent. But yeah, there's just a sense of being scrutinized, being studied even, being watched, like somebody keeping an eye on you, making sure you're not messing something up. Like you're staying within the guidelines, you're doing what's expected. Interesting story that's unfolding here. For the future, gosh, you have the Eight of Swords. That's the first decan of Gemini. You know, these are circumstances that maybe outwardly appear limiting and restrictive. You feel stuck and trapped by circumstances, but they're really limitations that exist in your own mind. They're not necessarily concrete. I don't want to use the word legitimate, but that could be a word applied here. Obstacles in your path. It's kind of more like you have the resources to push past these perceived obstacles and limitations. You can, remove the blindfold and untie yourself, so to speak, if you kind of go by the imagery on this card. So this is like your immediate future. These are like I feel like you can push through this. And it might be a bit of a struggle, and it might take a little bit more resources, maybe financially, since this is the Five of Coins as the challenge card. Can be that you're like, if we're going to go back to the hospital analogy, the hospital stay, I can see this as like somebody needing to go through physical therapy, and it's like there's not, like, this is all hypothetical, okay? So don't take this literally unless it like literally applies to you. But like somebody who's going through physical therapy, who maybe doesn't have any physical manifestation of something that's wrong, and so they should theoretically be able to walk around without crutches or without a wheelchair. But there's like a mental barrier. Like if you're in the hospital because of an injury or something, it's like the trauma left an imprint that's impeding you from moving forward. So if we're gonna try to like generalize that in a sense, it could be circumstances. This Ten of Swords situation could have been like a presentation of a situation that made you feel powerless and made you feel completely overwhelmed, completely even taken advantage of, and just totally exhausted, spiritually, morally, mentally, physically, emotionally injured in some form. And now it's like any attempts to move forward are hindered by the mental blocks that spawned. I'm so sorry. I did a lot of walking today, so I'm very thirsty. Almost like that end of the marathon type of energy for me too. So it's, it's funny when that happens. So we have crowning your reading. A lot of swords. We have the Three of Swords right here. And that being the crown of the reading represents an energy that you're kind of aspiring towards, or something that your sights are set on, your focus is very much on. And this is like I almost said the element. This is like the image of being heartbroken, of being it's like it's connecting back to this Ten of Swords situation of like feeling like life is antagonizing you, like you're a victim of circumstance. And I'm hearing like bleeding heart when I'm contemplating this Three of Swords card right here. Please excuse me. Like it's almost like you just want to be seen. You just want your pain to be made evident to somebody or some people around you. Like you want it to be made visible. You want it prominently placed, prominently like this is what's going on right now, and I need you to see it. Like maybe considering that this other three card, this Three of Coins in the past, like where your work was being very closely scrutinized, and maybe there being even like criticism of what you were doing, like every step of the way. It's like now that you're in this other situation where you're, for lack of a better word, broken. It's like nobody's watching, nobody's looking, nobody's evaluating anymore, nobody's scrutinizing, and it's like, why were you there to see everything that I was doing wrong, but now that I've been wronged, nobody's here to bear witness to it, or to... I don't necessarily feel like you're wanting support. That could be something that you're hoping for. I mean, I'm like getting called back to this Ten of Coins right here as being like potentially the energy that you were really holding in your mind, like trying to manifest this, where not only do you feel like you're able to support yourself, but the people around you are also contributing to that in some way. It just feels like you're not getting that. Another thing that this is really random, but looking at this Eight of Swords, another thing that I wanted to mention with this is like debt. Like while it has really material implications, and that's typically something that you would think of with like a coins card, it's also very cerebral, like the concept of being in debt to something else. It's contractual, it's verbal, it's linguistic, it's in numbers, it's in the field of intellect, even like digital, like it's something that you can do on the computer. You pay your bill on the computer or pay it via letter. Like there is that air component to it. And it could be part of the reason why you feel very restricted and bound to these circumstances, of that now if you're coming out of the hospital or coming out of a certain situation where now you owe money to someone, or somebody's trying to siphon off your fiscal resources in some way. And it's like they're using language in some fashion as a way to bind you to it, if that makes sense. Like there's some sort of contract in effect, maybe. At the base of your reading, and this is what's motivating your approach, your directives, your choices, like trying to maintain not only structure, how do I word this? Trying to appropriately manage your time and your resources in a way so that you're able to support yourself, but also able to take care of whatever these obligations that this Eight of Swords could potentially be representing. Like trying to give of yourself equally into every field that you're playing in, because I feel like you're playing in multiple fields. Could be like 3 different situations. I mean, we have the 3 of Swords, the 3 of Coins, you know. If we get another 3, that I think that'll be like confirmation. But like, yeah, there's just this sense of trying to be really diligent and careful about how you're approaching things, trying to make sure that you're reading all the fine print. If this is something to do with like legal issues, like trying to make sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, like covering every single base and being meticulous, beyond meticulous, to make sure that when you finally move forward, there's not going to be any room for error, because I think at this point you wouldn't be able to go on if there were mistakes made. Like, this is very, I don't want to say life and death sort of energy, but it's very penultimate. Like, the next move is going to be the deterministic move. So it could be like moving your assets around to make sure that you're able to support yourself financially. I don't necessarily see a card that's indicating like lending money or anything like that, but this is very much a situation that's requiring all of your mental capacity, and maybe even requiring you to involve legal assistance, legal consultation. Which is interesting. This 3 of Swords, I'm looking at it and I keep hearing like legal representation. I never had that with that card before, but it's like screaming it at me as I'm looking at it. Alright, so our next card is the 7 of Wands. So this is like fighting your case. Maybe not the right choice of words. How do I word this? Words are so hard, y'all. Like, I can see it in my head so clearly, but when I try to formulate it into like a complete sentence, it's just like elephant through a straw. That's all I gotta say. So 7 of Swords, 7 of Wands. You know, this is like you being on the battlefield and like trying to defend your position, trying to defend your decisions even, but feeling like rather than being supported in the process, you're being attacked, quite literally. So if whatever the situation is has something to do with a lawsuit, it's like it seems like the odds are like totally against you. Like, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it's like the outcome isn't going to be good, or at least that's how it appears. We don't have all the cards on the table yet, so I don't necessarily want to, step all over your hopes. And I don't think that you should give up the fight if you're trying to fight for justice in some fashion. But like, yeah, it just feels like everything feels like it's against you. I don't think it is, so Don't lose hope. This is just the tarot, and all the tarot is a mirror. So it's showing what is, and by seeing what is, that it should be able to inform your decision-making process. Because nothing is set in stone. Everything is determined by your will, and you have free will. You have free reign in your life. Obviously, some circumstances are out of your control, but you can always control your response to things, and you can always control the decisions that you make. You should also take responsibility for them, so I'm just gonna let that one sit there. Okay, so our next card, we have the Knight of Cups. And this could indicate the approach of someone who is going to be of assistance to you in some way, someone who maybe can vouch for your character in a positive way, or is bearing truth in some fashion, and I feel like it's going to be beneficial for you. Like, they're moving very, I don't want to say slowly, but very deliberately and very assuredly. Like, they are carrying themselves with an air of everything's going to be fine because I am carrying the truth with me, and the truth is going to set you free sort of energy. Like, could also just be somebody who gives you heartfelt advice that kind of reinforces your mindset a little bit, so that you feel a little bit more equipped to go out into the world and face this situation and feel like you're not quite so alone. So maybe lean on your friends where you can, family. This could be representing a water sign, you know, like Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. Doesn't have to. Somebody who's a little bit more in touch with their emotional, sensuous, visionary, dreamy side. I'm getting kind of pulled into it as I'm looking at it. Like, I heard like somebody who lives near water. And that could be symbolic, even like somebody who lives near a reservoir of truth and spiritual discernment and beauty, even, that I think could benefit you or support you in somehow. So our next card, for hopes and fears, we have the Wheel of Fortune. This is like kind of hoping for a turn of events, you know, whereas the energy in the beginning portion of this reading has been very like antagonistic, kind of negative, restrictive. This Wheel of Fortune's in the position of hopes and fears, I think, speaks for itself. It's like hoping that fate steps in and turns the situation around. And I feel like that's exactly what might be happening here. I feel like as we're going through this reading, things are feeling a little bit more uplifted. I feel like just by acknowledging the situation, things are already improving. You know, and the Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter's card, so this is like blessings, unseen blessings being showered from the sky sort of concept, you know. Then you got the Sun as your final outcome card. I think that kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? That's you, Leo. That's your ruler right there. This is like the bright, sorry, one sec. And we're back. Okay. So yeah, the Sun is representing an opening up, a brightening of the situation. You know, this is the blessing blossoming in your experience. Feeling like the energy is released and is able to freely flow and move and is no longer bound as it was with this card here. kind of encoded into the annual journey of the sun, southward to the lowest point, to the underworld, is the promise of its subsequent ascent back to the northern solstice, the highest point north of the equator. And it's like this journey is cyclical. It happens, it comes in waves. We got to go through the nitty-gritty, ugly stuff that we don't want to deal with, but that we have to deal with because it's part of reality. And reality can be a little harsh sometimes. But it's like once we move through that and we work through that, we're more attuned to our inner capabilities and our inner strength, our inner reserves of power, our ability to shine in our lives in spite of the dark matter, if that makes sense. And with that, I think that's your reading, Leo. For now, anyway. You'll have more soon. I'm sticking with about once a month reading schedule with occasional bi-weekly readings peppered in between this particular round of readings being that bi-weekly reading. So I will have the monthly readings out shortly once I finish these in-between readings. And the bi-weekly readings are just kind of like an occasional thing depending on what my schedule's looking like. And I would have had these readings out sooner, but there's been some stuff going on in my personal life, so it's been a little more difficult to find the time to do these. But we're gonna get through them and we're gonna do them, and I just hope that you're feeling supported and cared for and capable and not disempowered. You're not a victim, you're not weak, you're not powerless, you're not unloved. You are powerful, you are strong, you are loved, you're beautiful, you're smart, and you're bringing something to the table. And even if it takes a lot of you, a lot of effort, a lot of pushing to get a seat at that table, doesn't mean that you're worth any less for it, if that makes sense. Maybe that wasn't the greatest analogy, but all I'm trying to say is that you can do it. Whatever it is that you're fighting, if you have the truth on your side, then I don't think you have anything to worry about, because justice will be served. Especially as this wheel turns, right? Like, come on. Everyone gets their due. Whether in this life or the next, everyone gets their due. Alright? So wish you the best. Hang in there.